Okay, welcome back. Now here I am inside of our passenger controller, and as I said earlier, right now we don't make use of a real database, but for sure if a passenger registers or actually wants to book a flight, we should keep track of it at least in runtime during the, well, actually lifetime of the application. So even if we register 5 bookings, or if we book 5 flights, we should keep track of them as long as the application is alive. Now we do that as we did it earlier with a static list, because a static list will not get deleted once we receive a new request. By default, if we don't create it in a static way, every time a new request hits the passenger controller, a new instance would get created of that list. So since it's not shared between the controller, right? I mean, this is exactly what static is doing. Now, let's create a static list, static private I list of type new passenger DTO, because this is how a passenger object should look like, equals to new list. There we go, AI doing our work here. Static private list passengers new list. There we go. Okay, great. So inside the register action here, we will now take the DTO that we are receiving and simply put it right into our passengers list. So take a look right here. You got that line. I will now zoom in again and this new list will disappear, so no worries. And here we have that passengers dot add and then DTO. There we go. Now finally, we for sure don't want to throw the new implemented exception anymore. Instead, we want to return status code OK. And we can go ahead and add some console log information, but what you would do by default is you would use console.writeLine, but in ASP.NET Core you would not be able to see that information. Instead, you want to go ahead and use system.diagnostics.debug.writeLine. And using this method, you would be able to see the actual writeLine or the log inside of the output. You will see that in a second. Now, what we want to know here is we want to know the count of the passengers. So simply go ahead and write down passengers.count so that we have any idea of how many passengers are registered inside of our application or inside of that static list right here. Now, if we want to see that log, we should go ahead and start the application using the debugging mode. So simply go ahead and click on the green arrow at the top bar. Now, once our application is started, let's move to our register passengers endpoint, open the console, get rid of these arrows showing here using the favicon, right? And then simply fill out the form. Now, once that's done, click on login and you will see on the right side, form posted to server. Now, switch back to our application and here on the bottom right side for me, you can see call stack. Let's switch to output. You will see that 1 here, so this is for me, right? Now, let me open the application again. This time I will spam it a little bit so that you can definitely see that number there, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and again, right? So everything is working. We have that call on the register endpoint. You also know how you can log yourself some information. For sure, you can go ahead and set a breakpoint for debugging, right? So we can also do that. Set the breakpoint here. Open up the application, click on login. You can see that breakpoint firing. We can look at the DTO right here. If you hold the cursor above it, you can see, all right, we got Yannick, Leisman, gender, right? Everything, so gender should be like his female or whatever, doesn't really matter. We got that transferred later on and everything is working nice. So just for you to give a hint on how you can debug those informations. However, the passenger is now set and we know that we have received the information. This is very nice. Now we need to implement another action, which is actually finding a passenger, right? So right now we're saving it inside of that passenger list here. And later on, we will need to have an action where we can say, hey, please find a passenger inside of that list. And that's what we now next up will create. And it won't take too long. So see you in the next video.